Come with us into the unknown. Join us on a journey that will open your eyes and push the boundaries of your imagination. Ghostly figures, beasts of Dartmoor, aliens and timeless legends. This is Haunted Devon on Soundart Radio 102.5 FM.
Good evening, and you're listening to Haunted Devon on Soundart 102.5 FM. On tonight's show, we have Jason Hicks in the studio, co-founder of Supernatural Investigations, and talking about his new book, Haunted Bodmin Moor, so stay tuned. Any questions for Jason? Please post on the Haunted Devon Facebook page. That was Blue Oyster Cult with Don't Fear the Reaper. Good evening and welcome to another Monday night with Haunted Devon, broadcasting live from the Soundart studio. We have a very special guest in the studio from Supernatural Investigations, Jason Hicks. Hello, Jason.
Ah, good evening, Abbie.
And of course, we have my trusted right-hand man, Martyn, here as ever.
Good evening.
Hello. Now, before we get into your new book, Jason, can you tell us a bit about yourself, a bit about Supernatural Investigations and how you came to be a paranormal investigator?
Oh, sounds interesting. Well, to you, maybe. Bit about me. Been studying probably the paranormal and research into the paranormal now for, it's got to be well over 10 years. Became part of Supernatural Investigations when I met Kevin, Stu and Claire and a few of the other teams on a different group. Got interested in the paranormal probably from a young child. Had a few personal experiences, you could say, as a child in a certain house, which is in the book, funny enough, in Cornwall. And from then really been interested in the paranormal since then.
I think that's how we've all started off, isn't it, really? Experiences when we're younger, then joining groups and growing as investigators.
That's true, yeah.
Now, this isn't your first book. You've also co-authored a book with Stuart Andrews. Oh, Stewie. I miss Stewie. On Paranormal Cornwall. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, sure. Paranormal Cornwall came out in 2010. Stuart and I were requested to write the book, I should say, by the publishers a year previous, and we had 12 months to write the book. And what with the amount of investigations that we had undertaken with different groups and also Supernatural Investigations in Cornwall, it was an ideal location for us to write our first book. Stu and I sat down, put our heads together, came up with a couple of chapters, and obviously Paranormal Cornwall was born. Did pretty well. I think we sold quite a few copies. It's granted a reprint this year.
Oh, brilliant.
And I think they've sold quite a few of those copies already, which is good.
I'll look forward to reading that one as well. I've got your book here. Signed copy as well, aren't I lucky?
Almost.
Almost. Oh, it's not signed yet. There you go, here's a pen. I can put it on eBay.
Yeah.
Now, this book has taken you a year to write.
That's right, yeah.
And if you've been following Jason on Facebook with his journey with this book, it all started on his bathroom wall of all places.
Yeah, pretty much. I got the go-ahead from the publishers. They liked the idea of the book, and as I say, got 12 months to write the book. And it pretty much took birth, you could say, from my bathroom wall. I like to have my baths, usually after I've been to the gym, and I was lying there with a black marker pen and began structuring the book and writing out what the chapters will be from the bathroom wall.
Brilliant. Now, Bodmin Moor in Cornwall is one of England's most beautiful parts of the country.
We've got to say that.
Yes, well, biased Dartmoor, but hey-ho. It's your show, so it's the most beautiful spot in the country. It's wild and untamed, mysterious. The moorland runs deep into the sea to create the romantic Cornish coastline. The whole area is knee-deep in a heavy mixture of mystery, myth and legend. Part fact, part fiction, part history and part fairy tale. Stories of Arthur and the Court of Camelot. Mysterious Celtic priesthoods, civil war, and of course Cornwall, smugglers.
Of course.
Of course, you can't have Cornwall without smugglers, can you?
No.
But as far back as anyone can remember, Bodmin has been steeped in stories of the paranormal. Now, some do believe it's the strange properties of the granite itself, saying that the standing stones act like I knew I was going to struggle with that one. Acupuncture points of the earth. Can you tell us a little tidbit of some of the stories that are in your book?
In the book? Oh,
without giving too much away, so people still go out and buy.
Absolutely. Of course, I mean, Bodmin Moor is a fantastic location, as you say. I mean, I live in Liskeard, and that is literally 3-4 miles away from some of the highest points in Cornwall, and also 3-4 miles away from the coastline. And it's quite a unique place to be, and on any given day I can make a decision whether I want to be up on the moor wandering around with a camera or maybe down on the beach having a sleep. Quite a unique place, but Bodmin Moor itself obviously covers quite a large area of Cornwall, reaching across from the north right over to the southeast.
And also borders Devon as well.
Of course, yeah. Not too far away from Dartmoor.
No, it's not. I mean, to be honest with you, they could almost just meet in the middle, couldn't they?
They could do, yeah.
It's great. When you're on the western fringe of Dartmoor, you can look right across the valley through Tavistock and Callington, and there on the horizon is all the tours of Bodmin Moor.
Great,
it's
yeah.
fantastic place.
Amazing location.
It is. It's great.
I mean,
If it weren't for the A30, they would meet.
they wouldn't. That's true. Yeah. I mean, when I began writing the book, I actually took my laptop up onto the cheese ring, up onto Stowe's Hill, and I sat there on the rock formations there, laptop on my lap, looking out over the barren wasteland of Bodmin Moor. And I could just about make out the traffic from the A30 and the A38 coming the other way. And you can look across and you could see Plymouth in the distance. It was a lovely, clear day.
I mean, what a place to get inspiration, though.
This was it, and that's why I wrote the introduction. There's a picture in the book of me standing there, sitting there, I should say. I actually got some tourist guy who was there taking pictures with his family, and I said, "Excuse me, mate, you couldn't take a picture of me, please?" Sat up on that rock, and I had to run down, give him my camera. Then he had to wait until I climbed to the top again. I said, "Okay, mate, yeah, you can take the picture now." Took the picture, run back down, and he didn't even ask why.
And he was still there?
He was still there.
Well, you got
He didn't
to look
run
up.
away with my camera, that was the main thing.
Now, why do you think, I mean, you mentioned before we came on air the pull of Bodmin Moor.
Absolutely.
I mean, there is a strange pull to the place and people are drawn to it, not just in the paranormal field, but from everyday walk of life as well. Can you explain a bit of the allure that surrounds Bodmin?
Oh, that's very good. I think personally, it's got so much history, right back to the times and days of the hunter-gatherers, if you like. You know, and you can imagine them sitting there in their own little round huts and going out and hunting animals and trying to find food for the day. And you think the amount of history going back from that point all the way through to today, you know, from the mining of Stowe's Hill, if you like, and certainly the murder of Charlotte Diamond, that's one thing that always captures me. You know, this poor 18-year-old maid back in 1844 who had her life taken from her at the base of Router on Davidstow, near Davidstow. Absolutely amazing. And the way that the guy they caught was persecuted, and it's all in the book, and how he was actually, basically, he was charged by the community long before they could even prove he did the crime. And they erected a monument in memory of Charlotte Diamond, and on this monument it says, "Here lies Charlotte Diamond, who was murdered by Matthew Weeks," and this was a month before his trial. And you got to say, you know,
Kangaroo Court.
Exactly, you know.
Well, you know, in the deep country, in the olden days, it was a bit lynch mob justice, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
They didn't leave things to the courts; they dealt with it themselves in house. Which some ways, you know, but in other ways.
Saying about Davidstow, there, of course, there was the airfield.
Exactly,
there.
yes.
And I think from back along, I heard some hauntings of things happening on the airfield.
There is indeed, yeah. Also, a chapter for Davidstow Airfield is in the book. I went there on an investigation before Christmas. Absolutely amazing location, and some really interesting evidence was brought from that using what we call the ovulus, which is basically a scientific device, or maybe pseudo-scientific device.
Digital dowsing.
A digital dowsing device which would spit out random words from a database. But some of the words it was coming up with was quite interesting, and some of the output was amazing. And as I say in the book, it directed us through the museum to a specific location and came out with stuff that there's just no way we would have known. And fitted in with the investigation. Absolutely amazing place.
I mean, the ovulus is controversial, but to me, it's a good bit of kit when you can understand what it's saying.
Exactly, yes.
It does sound a bit like Stephen Hawking's with a cold most of the time. If you got the X or the PX, it has a digital display, so you're not sitting there trying to work it out. But us at Haunted Devon, we've had some amazing results at the Totnes Guild Hall with the ovulus.
Yes, yeah.
Where it actually brought out Fear the Wig, and it actually gave a name and a date and the actual dispute in the court.
Right.
Me and Kate were there, we were looking in the records and we actually found it.
Oh, there you go, see.
So,
how random is that?
I know, I mean, as much as people diss the ovulus, sometimes it does come out with the right info.
Exactly.
Something that we would never... I mean, it took us half an hour to find this, but
yes,
something you'd never think of it on its own. Now, you've investigated Jamaica Inn.
That's correct, yes.
And it is also, is it in your book?
It's also its own chapter in the book.
Its own chapter, and so it should.
Enough information in that. I could write a book on Jamaica Inn itself.
That's it.
Could be the next book.
Now, unfortunately, it's somewhere I've never been, and I would love to go.
You're joking.
I've never been to the Jammy Inn, no. I know. Maybe that's something Haunted Devon and S.I could sort out for the future.
That might be an idea, yes.
Nice.
So I went there a few years back of Haunted Devon. Not a lot happened during the night until one of the team members, who's no longer a member of Haunted Devon, Very quiet, very reserved person. Then at the end of the investigation, when we all went back into the control room to talk about our findings, she stood up and she sweared out like a trooper for 5 minutes. Went absolutely berserk. And I was the team leader who had her in my team.
Yeah.
And I kept encouraging her to come to the table if she wanted to do any kind of seance or anything like that. And she said, oh, no, I just want to stand back and observe. And all the dowsing she didn't want to get. But at the end, she went absolutely ballistic. She said she felt like she wanted to go up to people and actually punch them one in the face.
Oh, right.
Interesting.
Yeah, strange.
It often gets to people that aren't taking part, though, doesn't it? You find that on investigations. The ones that stand back, oh, no, I'll just watch. No, you're actually better off sitting in the glass, love.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, Jamaica Inn was a great location. I wanted to get in with the group, to be honest, for the book. I did mention to Jamaica Inn I was dedicating a chapter to the place. Unfortunately, because of the time of year it was, they couldn't guarantee me a location, certainly not for the kind of money that we would expect to pay. But they put me in touch with a commercial group who are in there a number of times a year, called Haunted Happenings.
Yeah.
And I was always dubious about commercial groups, so I said, okay, I'll contact them. They were very kind to let me on an investigation with them. Obviously, it's a public night. I went along and they treated me like I was on my own, to be honest. They said, you can go where you like, you know, and do what you want to do for the book, which was brilliant. But I went around with the group and I was recording stuff on video and on audio. And I watched how they had similar gear to obviously what we have.
Yes.
And I do remember one guy, Paul Dutton, he was on the tour with the public, who had travelled from all over the country to come and have a very interesting, entertaining evening at Jamaica Inn. And you can imagine their expectations being high, probably never done an investigation before. And we were in this one room, and we'd handed out, obviously, the K2 meters, EMF meters, and immediately the lights were giving it large on the EMF meter, which usually indicates there's a strong signal of EMF, or someone's left their phone on. And I was obviously smirking to myself at this, and Paul immediately said, is there anyone in this room who's got their phone on? Because at that point the public all went, look, the meter's lighting up, the meter's lighting up.
As they do, you know.
And Paul said, you know, is your mobile phone on? If it is, please could you turn it off?
That's it.
And I thought that's brilliant, because other commercial groups that I know of would have said, look, we've picked up a spirit in this room, and everyone would have been, oh, that's amazing, and they would have gone away basically lied to. And this group were absolutely professional, and to be honest, I've been on a number of investigations since with them at Jamaica Inn and Bodmin Jail, and they're very much professional and they're very much truthful. They want the people to have a good time, but they also then want to keep it real, make sure that what they're experiencing is real.
That's it. That's the best way, isn't it? Could you tell us a bit about the hauntings, or the apparent or supposed hauntings that go on at the Jammy?
At the Jammy?
At the Jammy.
Well, this is why I need to write a book about it, because there are so many. I wrote the chapter, and at the end of it, it was like, and here's some other things that have happened at Jamaica Inn.
In a summary.
In a summary. There is, probably the famous one is, one of the famous ones is a man sitting at the bar who's drinking his beer, and someone beckons him outside. He puts his pint down, still half full, leaves the premises, and is never seen again. His body is never found. The gentleman just disappeared, and they believe that he sits there, and he's been seen sitting at the bar and is seen leaving the bar out through the door. But there are so many stories at Jamaica Inn. The 3 rooms upstairs, I think it's 3, 4 and 5 upstairs, there's so many stories there. Even when I was there was a particular lady, I went on 2 occasions, and 2 different ladies had experienced exactly the same feeling of overwhelming, wanting to cry emotion in the same place in this room. 2 separate nights, 2 separate women, and there could be no coincidence between. They didn't know.
That's the kind of evidence you look for,
and that's
as a
brilliant.
paranormal investigator. That is.
That was, to be honest, as I say, in the book, there's pretty much covers a lot. There's a visitors book there called the Ghost Visitors Book, and it's jam-packed full of stories that people have experienced there.
Well, I will look forward to my first experience at the Jamaica Inn. I missed out on it a few years ago because they closed down for a while, didn't they?
That's correct, yeah.
So I did miss out because we were planning to go, but then it got closed down.
They converted part of it.
That's it, yeah, it got off the table. But also people have experienced at the Jamaica Inn is heard people's voices talking in a Cornish dialect.
Yes.
A cloaked figure in the dining room going into the stable bar. I think that's quite a regular
That is
occurrence,
actually, yes, that's still seen.
And, of course, your galloping horses.
Absolutely.
And a figure nearby on a surrounding road hanging from a tree, I believe.
That's correct, yeah, that's the Drains Valley that leads between St Clear, if you like, and also Bolventa, where Jamaica Inn is. And that's a very daunting road, and I travel that road quite often after investigations, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, rather you than me.
Same place. I did a UFO investigation at St Clear.
Absolutely.
A couple saw a fantastic UFO hovered just above the trees.
Yeah.
A long pink cylinder, and it had like portals in, and it just floated across the trees. They took us to the spot, and the whole place is eerie.
Yeah,
really
definitely.
eerie.
Even in the daytime, even in the summer. I drove through there today because my missus and I, we went down to Tintagel and drove through there today, and it's even in the daytime you're like, this is very daunting. Just the way the trees go over the road and it just bends into nowhere.
So it's the stereo on full blast, the light in the car, the windows done up and the doors locked.
Definitely, yeah.
Otherwise it's a brown trousers moment. I must admit there's a few places on the moors when we've done Byron's nights and I've been back on
the
my own.
Dartmoor nights, yeah.
I think what was it? No, it wasn't the Hairy Hands one, it was when we went up to that place where they'd used it for devil worshipping. And there was me driving back on my own, over the Hairy Hands bit, and I tell you what, I could not wait to get to Ashburton.
Yes,
I was
it's
absolutely
an amazing road.
sitting there in my car. Oh dear me! Now you wanted to talk a bit about Outram Village, the Penhallow
Manor. Yes.
Now that has got a very interesting history to it, I believe.
It is indeed, yeah. Penhallow Manor, yeah. It used to be the old rectory for the church there, and as you mentioned previously, there's the Ghost Hunters programme, which kind of mentions about Penhallow Manor and Alternate.
I honestly didn't get my research off there.
But it covers it quite well in a visual way. But certainly the history of Reverend Tripp, who was the Reverend in the rectory at that time, and his love triangle, you could say.
Yes, a rather naughty Reverend, I hear.
He had a lot of interest in other women, other than his wife.
Oh, poor wife. But yes, Mary Hurley, I believe,
That's
the local
her name.
housemaid, yes.
Yes.
And supposedly he's buried outside the gates with Miss Hurley instead of...
his wife.
His poor wife. Well, to be honest with you, after that, you would kick him out of the grave bed, let alone the marital bed, wouldn't you?
That's true, that's true. But I was fortunate because one of my friends, his parents used to own the property long after this had occurred. And they had... Not that they said they ever saw anything, but they had regular things that would occur in the house that they couldn't explain. They would each day they would make up all the bedrooms ready for new guests to come and stay as a B&B, and the same room at the back of the property would always look like it's been slept in, even though no one had ever been in there, or at that time no one had been in there. And they also had a dog that wouldn't go into a certain part of the property, wouldn't enter the building at all, which was really strange.
Animals being more sensitive than us.
Exactly,
yeah,
yes.
Definitely. There's also reports of footsteps walking up and down, and it's been picked up by several mediums that it is the Reverend Tripp himself walking back and forth with his hands behind his back, contemplating his sermons.
That's true, yes.
Or either that, or contemplating what he's going to tell his wife the next time he catches him in the act.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. I think I'll be pacing up and down as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And also the same lady, Mary, who's been reported as a grey lady wearing Quaker type dress,
Yes.
has been seen coming down behind the church and the lane going towards the bridge.
That's correct, yeah. Well, a woman in grey or a woman in white has been seen, which is believed to be the Mary woman. Also, confusion between this and another woman that was seen jumping. I think it was jumping out of a window.
Yes, I mean, there is conflicting stories. We've got... I've got written down here that they say she threw herself into the bogs and drowned, and there's another one saying she threw herself off the bridge and drowned.
That's right, yeah.
So with these old legends, you are going to get
a bit of change in story, absolutely, yeah.
That is true.
But definitely seen on more than one occasion, quite often actually. And again, a couple of friends of mine, they were driving back one night from the rising sun to Alton, went through Alton Village itself. Both saw this woman in grey, woman in white, carried on driving, not believing what they'd seen, and then further up the road, by the time they got to 5 lanes, looked at each other and said, "Did you see that?" And they both then couldn't believe what they both saw, a misty figure crossing the road by the bridge just outside the church. So even, and this was possibly 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So
imagine if you go down there now, there's people that still say there's regular sightings of this apparition.
Definitely, yes.
I mean, is it the fact that it was a suicide so she can't rest, or that she's not buried on hallowed ground because they're outside the gates, aren't they?
That's true,
they're not inside. They have been relegated for being a bit of a naughty vicar.
Yeah, possibly that, yeah.
So, I mean, when did this occur? Was this Victorian times or earlier, or...?
I don't know, actually, to be honest, offhand. I'd have to look in the book.
You'll have to look in the book, well,
I'll have a look later.
You'll have a quick flick through. Now, something that isn't mentioned in the book, which there's been a bit of a debate whether it should be or not, hasn't there?
Oh, that's right, yes.
Is the good old Beast of Bodmin.
Yes.
So there are going to be a few Beast of Bodmin fans that will be disappointed, but we'll have a quick chat about it now to appease the fans.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the intention was to include it in the book. When the book went originally as an idea to the publishers, it was punted as Paranormal Bodmin Moor, based on the fact that I'd already written Paranormal Cornwall with Stuart.
Yes.
They came back saying that they were looking to discontinue the Paranormal series, or at least cut it down. So I went back with the Haunted series instead, and they were happy with that. So I had a debate, do I put the Beast of Bodmin Moor in or not? At that point I hadn't heard of it as a spectral figure, but Martyn, you've got some information for me.
Yes, because I've been researching the beasts of Bodmin and the Beast of Exmoor, Beast of Dartmoor for 20 years now, and I've interviewed some eyewitnesses that's actually seen this beast. It's led me to believe what I always thought it was, the same with all these creatures I've seen, Bigfoot, Nessie. I do strongly believe it's a supernatural energy manifesting as a beast.
Okay.
And with the beast, it manifests as a large black panther on Bodmin Moor, Dartmoor, Exmoor. Many people see it, and the eyewitnesses that I've interviewed, I haven't got time to go into all the details of it, but it's absolutely phenomenal. But basically, it just materialises in front of them, and it'll just dematerialise. It'll just disappear in thin air. It doesn't wander off into gorse bushes. It literally does vanish in front of them. I wish I had time to go into more detail about one of the circumstances. I'll save it for another day if ever we do a theme on cryptozoology. But it's a fascinating subject.
It's a cryptozoology show, I must admit. But also the beast has been linked to why we get our wish hounds from here in Devon, the black dog and the hound, the Baskervilles. Actually does start off as a cat and then kind of like morphs itself as the years go on into the hellhound with red eyes. It is amazing how these stories actually cross the A30 into Dartmoor from Bodmin Moor.
There's a village in North Devon, isn't there, called the Black Dog?
Yes,
and that is based on the fact that spectral black dogs were seen in the area.
And also up in Buckfastleigh, you've got Squire Campbell, whose soul was meant to be taken away by the 13
yes. That's true. Yeah.
And if you've ever been up there on an investigation to St Holy Trinity Church, very spooky place.
Yeah, I've been there. Very interesting.
We've both times I've been, I went with my cousin and that first time. The second time I went with Mark Nichols, who was at Haunted Devon and now is at Haunted Apparitions, I believe.
Yes.
And the first time we went there, we caught this music on both voice recorders. We had an analogue and a digital going on, because I was experimenting at the time between the difference between analogue and digital. And, you know, the experiments that go on. And this music was captured on both recorders at opposite ends of the church.
Oh, right.
We didn't hear it at the time. It wasn't part of the monastery down the road.
Yes.
When I went back with Mark Nichols, we both actually heard this, and I was like, oh my god, it's the music! We both ran up to the church. As soon as we got to the church, it stopped.
No way.
Stopped dead.
And as anyone who's been there would know, there's nothing near Holy Trinity Church. There's no pubs or any houses or anything, so the music couldn't have come from anywhere else.
It was bells.
Yeah.
It was church bells we were hearing with organ music mixed in. But yes, it was a very, very spooky experience. Right, we're going to go to a break now, but when we'll be back, we'll be talking about more haunted tales of Bodmin Moor, possibly delving into the mystery of the giants of Bodmin Moor, so that'll be a good one, so stay tuned. Any questions for Jason? Please post on the Haunted Devon Facebook page, otherwise he will be very, very sad. And we don't want to see a grown man cry in the studio.
Not again.
Not again, no. He got my tea with sugar in it earlier. Should have seen his face. We'll be right back after this. That was Evanescence and Call Me When You're Sober, especially for you there, Jason.
I do
you're an
like Evanescence
fan. I thought I'd drop that one in there for you.
Thank you.
Now, Martyn, I believe we do have a couple of questions from Facebook.
Yes, we do. 2 questions have come through from Jason Cole, so it's from one Jason to another here. The first one is, hi, have you ever seen any such thing as a ghost?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Probably the closest thing I would come to saying yes.
This is not after you've been to the pub, mind.
Okay, then I'd have to say no. No, it was an investigation in Wales at a location called Craignos Castle.
Oh, brilliant place.
Probably, one of the most spookiest places I've ever been. And the first time I'd gone to this place, really excited, brilliant big old castle. We were in one particular area, and it was dark, but there was a fade of light, if you like, coming through into the room, so you could make out the outskirts of people and items in the room. And I was looking at the window, and I could swear I could see what seemed to be a black shadow lurking in front of the window. And was it corner of the eye phenomena? I wasn't sure. So at that point, I moved from left to right, which usually dissipates any items that aren't there. But this black shadow stayed there, and I'm moving, but you won't see this. But moving from left to right, the black shadow stayed exactly where it was. So I had a friend who was filming on an old DV camera with night vision, and I said, right, I'm going to wander over to this black shadow. And as I wandered over, he said on the camera all he could see was all these orbs shooting up and down. So I went over to this black shadow, and it was still there. And I literally put my arms around this black shadow, and my hands disappeared behind it.
Oh my word.
And my arms were tingling where part of them were touching the black shadow. And he said the orbs were shooting up and down within my arms. And I said, it's moving. And this thing started to move to the left very slowly. And as it moved to the left, I carried on cuddling it almost to the left. And then it just disappeared. And looking back on the footage, everywhere else was clear. But literally, this area, and it was like a blurred gathering of orbs, and it had moved with us. And that's probably the closest I could ever say to coming to seeing an entity.
Well, as a fellow paranormal investigator, I would be very interested to see that footage. And lucky ghosts from getting a hug as well.
Yeah.
Ghosts just want a hug sometimes. Was there any more questions?
There is one more question, yeah.
Double-ended one,
there
wasn't
is,
it?
yeah. Have you any hard evidence of ghosts?
Ooh, hard evidence. That's always a tough one. We've got a lot of video and audio footage of stuff.
Considering they're non-corporeal, hard knock-knock evidence.
Not exactly. But the problem is, and I've played a lot of this stuff to a lot of different people, and what I've realised over the years is that no one will ever believe you unless they have their own personal experience. Because you can say to someone, I was the only one in the room, listen to this, and they'll say, are you sure there wasn't someone else outside, or wasn't this and wasn't that? And they'll always find it hard to believe unless they have the experience themselves. And as I say, that probably one of the most interesting footage I've gathered, we mentioned before, was at Shaw Tunnel, and I just bought my brand new Zoom H4n digital recorder, which costs a lot of money. And taking it,
you have to write the book, you see.
I need to pay for it.
Paranormal equipment.
Yeah, I need to write a few more books, I think. But we put this voice recorder down in the tunnel at the start of the evening.
Yes.
Started recording, and listening back on the footage, I was enamoured to hear 7 seconds in, after putting the digital recorder down, knowing everyone who was there, hearing what sounded like a little girl's voice saying, "Oh no, not again," which I thought was amazing, because then I was thinking, maybe they get fed up with us turning up all the time, going, "Are you there? Would you like to talk to us?"
I must admit, I mean, to say it's a question that you put through to Bloody Mary.
That's right, it was, yeah.
It was a question you put through to us, and thank goodness.
Yes.
I'd actually run out of questions. You'd answered them all by the first 15 minutes. So I was frantically looking at Facebook. Paranormal investigations, do ghosts get really annoyed with us going in week after week? On your dowsing rods, on whatever platform you're using, is there anybody there?
Yeah.
But you must admit, it must be a bit tedious for them.
Absolutely, I think so.
I mean, I'm on the thinking on an investigation that you should have one team blind, not as in blindfolded, but as in no information, and another team with all the information, and see between them who gets the most activity.
Yeah, it's a good test.
It is a good test.
It's good.
Yeah.
Does the information warrant get more activity because you're not asking the same old silly questions? You know, is there anyone there? Are you male? Are you female? You dead? You're alive? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people going in Pacific with the information, will they get more of a reaction out of this? So
That's true. And I think the other problem you get, you go into a location and say, look, if you're here, can you make a sound? Can you knock on something? You get a knock. Is that really you? Can you do 2 knocks? You get 2 knocks.
And it's just
look,
like,
I'm really not sure. And I bet they're thinking,
I've already
do you know
met you
what?
once. What more
I'm
do
not
you
going to
want?
bother.
Well, there is the ethics, really. I mean, we've been looking at this a lot recently on paranormal investigations, especially at some places where something tragic has taken place. I mean, we've spoken to, as I say, Bloody Mary about it, and Christian Day on the show before, and their advice was to leave an offering for the spirits.
Yeah.
To say, thank you for the work you're doing, this is for you, we are leaving this for you, we'd appreciate it if you would talk to us. We're not just going to come in here and ask you to do tricks.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
So,
that's always good. Positive reinforcement.
That's it, and a lot of respect.
And respect, definitely.
I must admit, I've had the same with an EVP down at Hallamveen.
Yeah, great place.
It's another place I'd love to go to again, Hallamveen. Where I literally, the first few seconds I turned on the voice recorder, I'd left it in a room. The room was then cordoned off with infrared beam, so if anyone in there, door was closed, and the EVP I got was, they're here.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's like, yet another group coming in, like, oh God, they're here again.
Yeah, they're here.
Right, I want to talk to you a little bit about these giants of Bodmin Moor.
Giants of Cheese Ring. Yeah, that's obviously in the book.
Why is it called cheese ring by any chance?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
It's not to do with the cheese strings then?
No. I think I've put it in. I can't remember why it's called the cheese. It's
So he needs to read his book again, doesn't he?
He wrote it,
I didn't actually write the book. It was a ghostwriter.
Oh, Jason!
I had to drop that one in.
Where is my soundbite of, like, tumbleweeds, bells?
There's a little bit of research I did about these ancient sites on Bodmin Moor as well as Dartmoor. And a lot of what they called the old folk always regarded these places like the Cheese Ring on Bodmin Moor, and you've got Barrowman's Nose on Dartmoor. They regarded them as actual power temples, where they looked upon the Cornish power temples for healing of the body, and the Devon ones healing of spirituality, or revitalising spirituality. I thought it was a fascinating sort of
All these
area.
circles do follow ley lines if you cross-reference
Well, the Great
them.
Cheese Ring.
That's right, yeah.
It goes right through that ley line that starts at St Michael's Mount, goes through the Cheese Ring, it then goes through Brent Tor on the edge of Dartmoor. Next stop is Glastonbury Tor, then it's on to Avebury, which is a fantastic place in Wiltshire, and it goes right the way through out to the
that
Norfolk
is
coast.
Pretty much the...
Each of these very powerful places, like I said, Cheese Ring I've never been to and I really want to go.
Oh, must go.
Well, you'll
Must
often
go.
find as well that the ancients or the Celtics or the Druids are not the only ones privy to this knowledge. If you look at the churches or major cathedrals, along that same line going down, you will find most of your major churches and cathedrals are actually built on that line, to siphon the power off
That's
from
right, yeah.
It's
Especially
incredible.
on
You
a
can-
Brent tour.
Yeah, Brent Tor is a fantastic place. This church right on top of what was an active volcano a couple of thousand years ago. But you can actually look at a map of the southwest of England and draw a straight line, and they are all on that straight line, all these sites that we've
And you've
mentioned.
got also interconnecting fault lines as well that lead
That
on
crisscross,
to
yeah,
over.
that's right.
That's
Anyway,
true.
back to the giants.
Well, I found out, I did write this in the book, so I must have found out that the Cheese Ring is believed to be a geological formation of rocks weathered over time into an outcrop of granite slabs. Its name derived from a press-like device that was once used to make cheese. So there's
Hence
the
the cheese
answer to
ring.
that. Yes. The Cheese Ring, the formations, is, as I say, believed to be just rocks that were weathered down into that strange shape.
So not a standing stone formation.
No, but there is a legend, obviously, that was believed that giants that did occupy at this time, hundreds of BC years ago, were challenged for that location, if you like, by a number of saints who wanted to look after that place. And one of the giants came forth and said, "Okay, we'll play a game for you. we'll play a game for this location, and whoever wins the game can then run this location. And the giants came up with this game about tossing stones. And obviously being giants, they could pick up very large stones to throw, and these saints, only small obviously like people, they thought they're going to struggle with this, so we're going to win this game hands down. And Saint Chew, which was one of the saints that decided to play the game, said, yeah, no problems, I'll play. So they all started laughing at him, basically. So they each had to find, I think it was 12 flattish round stones that they could throw. And so the giant threw first, and then the saint somehow managed to muster up strength to throw the next stone, and it landed perfectly on top of the other one. And so this game went on until the giant threw a stone and it rolled off the top, and you can imagine all the giants stopped and stared in horror. But then they thought, well, it's a saint, it's a little man. This is a big pile of stones now. He's never going to get this last big stone on top. And somehow...
David and Goliath.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it could be based on that story.
It could be, yeah. Or David and Goliath could be based
on this one, because it was a long time before.
Yeah, it was a long time before. Now, there have been, even though it's not widely publicised, there have been giant skeletons excavated and found all over the world. So maybe there is actually more into this than your actual...
just a legend.
Legend, yes.
So, when we look at these cheese rings...
Yes.
I mean, 'cause I've never actually been there, and I really do want to go. I've only seen photographs of them, and when I first saw them, I honest to God thought that these were man-made. But as you said there, these are just formed naturally.
Apparently, yeah. I mean...
It's just phenomenal. If you see photographs of them, I really want to go there. Huh?
They are amazing.
We'll put it on our list.
Yeah. I go there all the time, literally living 3 miles down the road, I'm there,
yeah.
And they still amaze me when I go up and I look at these rocks, and they shouldn't stand. You just think a big gust of wind would knock them over, and how they're still there.
So they almost look precariously on top of each other, aren't they? You think, well, surely a gust of wind would blow that over.
Exactly, yeah.
Been there for thousands of years.
I mean, do they know if it is a natural formation or a long lost, forgotten megalithic structure?
Yeah,
exactly.
Could well be. I mean, there could be others like that just haven't quite been discovered yet, or have been overgrown.
Yeah.
With things like the Bosnian pyramids, people have assumed they were natural hills, but we now know, or scientists have now discovered, that these pyramids are huge, and they were built. Silbury Hill.
They just thought it was, as my mum calls them, mump bumps.
Well, yeah, I think they're just natural, natural mounds.
Just a natural formation, a mump
But
bump.
we now know they're ancient, they're built at the same time as the Great Pyramids of Egypt. We have no idea why they was built, for
and
what
also
purpose.
in alignment as well.
Exactly, yeah. Avebury is very close to Silbury Hill,
yes,
which is of course on that Great Western ley line that goes through the cheese ring.
So yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to line the cheese ring up astronomically and see if it actually does tie in.
It's very interesting. I watched the actual eclipse from the cheese ring, from the top of the cheese ring.
Place.
And there was a lot of Druid festivals going on at the same time. And unfortunately, it was cloudy, but it was enough you could still see. That's the one.
August '99.
That's the one.
I was at CLS watching, minding services, watching that one.
I was on South Dartmoor, had my camcorder, and battery ran out halfway through the eclipse.
No.
It was 1 minute 10 seconds, I think, South Dartmoor of total eclipse, and halfway through the battery just packed up. I was gutted.
Yeah, did you charge the battery beforehand?
Yeah,
well, I thought I did, but
the energy.
The granite. I mean, granite itself is an amazing stone.
Absolutely.
And it has been contributed to produce hauntings because of the whole stone tape effect.
Theory. Yeah.
This is energy. Oh.
Right, I didn't know I was going to have time to talk about this, but there's something I did want to throw in.
Go for it.
You're looking at Cornwall. Now, much of Cornwall is covered in granite stone.
Yes.
And skeptics and scientists are putting down this as creating hallucinations in people's mind that sees these apparitions, ghosts.
Scientists?
Yeah, but to me, I'm sorry, this just doesn't apply. Yes, Cornwall is littered with this granite rock, and I'm sure that there are energies. Yeah, I'm sure the energies can be contained in there. But if this is the case, why on earth doesn't all these stones throw out these recordings all the time, at any time, for the past 30,000 years since the dawn of humankind? It just doesn't happen. I can understand why they might be coming out with this theory, but it's a theory that I think is absolute hogwash.
No. I mean, the stone tape theory, where it's got imprinted energy into it that replays, is a known thing that we've come across time and time again.
Yes.
Your residual haunting.
Yeah, I believe there is properties, energies do get contained in it, but no way does this explain all apparitions, all ghost hauntings.
It can't be, no.
But of course, if we were to listen to the scientists, this is what they'll tell us.
If you listen to the scientists, you believe that global warming is down to carbon-based emissions.
We'll save that for another show.
Yeah. Just a dig at science there. We like quantum physics, don't we, Martyn?
We do.
Yeah, it makes sense. Complicated, but makes sense.
Yes.
But with these, as I say, the geological formations around Bodmin, I mean, is it something that, I mean, I know we have these in Devon. I'm not sure if it's something that occurs in Bodmin. If it is, it should be in your book. About the time slips. Round granite, there is a lot of reports of time slips.
That has been mentioned, definitely, yeah. It's not so much in the book, because I couldn't find many people who witnessed this or much evidence to base around it. Or would come forward, definitely. But yeah, I definitely heard about the time slip theory around granite, and certainly on the moors. Yeah, definitely.
If anyone is unfamiliar with the time slip theory, it is literally being presented by a scene of a different age.
Yes.
You're seeing people, landscape. Well, the landscape hasn't changed much.
Not normally,
Moors, but people and reliving events from the past. In a split second, you're back to present day.
There's a crop circle researcher who had a fantastic experience with time slip in Wiltshire whilst coming out of a crop circle. He's a well-known US crop circle researcher, Ron Russell. It was evening time. Him and his friend came out of a crop circle. They was walking along the edge of the field. His friend said, I've got to go back, get something out of the car, I'll think of something to eat. And Ron Russell, the crop circle researcher, said, OK, I'm going to carry on along this track for some reason. He walked for about a quarter of a mile. Mist came in, really thick. He got a bit scared. When the mist lifted, he saw these stone huts, and he thought somebody was doing a reenactment of Stone Age settlements. So he just watched, and he realised nobody was doing a reenactment. These were actual, real-life people going about their business. They were carrying these sticks, there were flames coming up through, and it really petrified him. He looked back, he couldn't see anything other than this thick mist behind him.
Right.
He shouted out to his friend, who knew was back at the car about a quarter of a mile away. He couldn't hear anything. He just got petrified, so he just ran back through the mist. And then his friend was there coming back, and Ron Russell was just sweating buckets with this experience, and he explained to him. So then they both went together back through the mist to see, and of course it was just a normal pasture field gone. That petrified Ron Russell, absolutely petrified.
That's quite
him.
interesting.
Me as well.
Definitely.
I'll be out of there. Now, for anyone who is going to undertake the project that you have just done, is writing a paranormal book, or any other kind of book, what advice would you give to them?
It's
Apart from spell check.
definitely spell check, definitely, and grammar check.
I can do it then.
Spend the time taken to write the book. I would say 3/4 of the time taken is research. You have to make sure you get the right research, make sure it's right as much as you can. These kind of books, it's hard to verify your information when it's usually people's witness statements. Is what people exactly, yeah. But you have to make sure you get the research together, and then the next bit is to collate that information in such a way to make it interesting, and then obviously it's the writing part, making sure you've got the pictures to back it up, visual evidence as much as possible.
I mean, did you use questionnaires or anything like that when you were...
It was a bit of... I didn't use many for this book. Paranormal Cornwall, we did quite a few witness interviews. For this, I spent a lot of time just driving around Bodmin Moor, talking to a lot of people. I did put out adverts in local papers asking people to come forth and if they knew of any information for the book. Facebook's brilliant for that kind of thing as well.
Definitely.
Got in contact. I was grateful to get in contact with Kit Browning, one of Daphne du Maurier's son.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing because I wanted to use a picture of Daphne in the book. Contacted the company who involved with the agency, I should say, that was holding the pictures, the copyright, who then put me in contact with Kit, and he sent me through some brilliant information, he sent me through Vanishing Cornwall, book by Daphne and himself, and also the DVD, which was brilliant and has gone into providing information for the book. Brilliant. So it's been an amazing journey writing this book, meeting lots of brilliant people. Paul Bradford from Ghost Hunters International in America, he's actually English. He's written the foreword for the book, likes the book, which is brilliant. Put his backing on it. So we've got a number of book signings coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, you're at Jamaica Inn, I believe.
That's correct, yeah.
Back to the good old Jammy.
Jammy Inn, wow, one of the best places. Obviously Bodmin Moor as well, but Jamaica Inn, or July the 28th, which is a Saturday, down in the shop there between 3 and 6 p.m, signing books, and then doing an investigation with haunted happenings that evening. which will be a brilliant, hopefully good night as well. And got July the 20th and the 21st, there's a beer festival on at Dobwalls, which is near Bodmin Moor.
Oh, yeah.
And sponsoring one of the beers there, which is a Fry's Brewery beer.
Higgsy beer.
Higgsy beer? Well,
Higgsy beer.
They've agreed to call it Ghost Hunter's Ale.
Oh,
So there's a Ghost Hunter's Ale at the beer.
The beer with the spirit.
So come along, if anyone's around, come along to that. There'll be book signing going on there, as well as lots of other entertaining and beer tasting.
Oh, well, of course. You can't have a beer festival without beer tasting. But if you are going to drink, take a Des with you so you're not driving.
Exactly.
Got to say that to be responsible. Now, before we go, can you tell me what is your most favourite haunted legend of the book?
Of the book?
Of the book.
Ooh, the most favourite. I do really enjoy the Charlotte Diamond murder mystery, because it is such a mystery, because it happened back in 1844, and the way that Matthew Weeks was captured and persecuted before the trial by the public, and the fact that it was the largest public hanging gathering at Bodmin Jail, and his body is actually at the back of Bodmin Jail.
It is?
Yeah, in the coal sheds just at the back, which is also in the book, obviously.
We didn't pick that one up when we were down there the other way. Darn it.
Oh, no.
My car was parked around there as well.
Yeah, probably parked on top of it.
Oh, nice.
I would say Charlotte's probably high up there on that, but certainly the stories. Bodmin Jail is always close to my heart, as is Jamaica Inn. I think it's a couple of my favourite stories.
Well, we're actually going with you to Bodmin Jail.
That's correct, September the 15th.
That's right, 15th.
I think it is.
Ah, brilliant. That's my parents' wedding anniversary.
Oh, excellent.
So they'll be enjoying spirits of another kind. Right, is that the time already?
It's flown by.
There we
It
go.
always does.
Another hour's gone.
Another hour is gone. Now, Jason's book is available at all good bookstores and also to pre-order at WH Smith's as well,
Yes.
as I found out. They said they had it in. I went down there. They did not.
And it's available in Kindle and e-reader format as well, apparently.
And also Asda in Bodmin.
Should be, yes.
Should be.
Should be, yeah.
It's advertised. So you can get it on ebook, on Kindle and...
On Amazon, all
Amazon.
usual spots. Yeah, Waterstones, it should be
Do you know,
available
I
in.
didn't actually think to look for an ebook.
Yeah, I think you can actually sample the book online as well, which is quite good.
Brilliant. I'll just read the back bio of the book for everybody. The wild sweep of Bodmin Moor is home to countless ghosts and spirits, ghouls, and as well as hundreds of inhabitants in the towns and villages dotted across the ancient windswept moorland. Containing a chilling range of spooky tales from the ghost of murdered sailor in ancient Jamaica Inn, to the white lady that wanders Alptham village, poor Mary,
That's her.
again, and featuring eyewitness accounts and previously unpublished investigations carried out by the author and the Supernatural Investigator team. Haunted the Bodmin Moor is guaranteed to make your blood run cold.
Well, it should do.
It should do. I can't even speak, so
It's already working.
yeah, it's lost the power of speech. Well, before we go, let me just find my right bit of paper. I've got 1,000,001 sheets today. Before we go, I've got a few announcements. Ian Addercote has invited HD members and anybody else who wants to come along to Haunted Cornwall's all-night investigation of Fulford Manor on the Saturday, the 14th of July. That will be at the special price of £25. Gotta love mates rates.
Yep.
Anyone who is interested, please head over to the Ghost Hunted Cornwall England Facebook page or go to www.ghosthunting.org.uk. That's www.ghosthunting.org.uk. So thank you ever so much for that, Ian. And we will be putting the links as well on the website. Also, the eagerly awaited Quest Natural Health Show starts on the 12th, runs to the 15th at Newton Abbot Racecourse. Hopefully we will have Barbara Nicol-John-Free, Highland Seer, in the studio next week to talk about what's been going on at Quest this year, what the work she has done and others, and find out what's been going on there. I know I'm looking forward to that one. And you can find the information for that at www.questuk.co.uk, and we'll be putting that up as well. I'd like to say a big thank you to my guest Jason, and all the best with your book.
Thank you very much.
And don't forget to sign that copy.
I will.
eBay is awaiting. No, I wouldn't.
You'd lose money on eBay.
I wouldn't. I'm actually quite looking forward to reading that. I've read like bits and pieces, samplers online and that, but I've been waiting to get my hands on it to have a good read. I'd like to say good night from Martyn.
Yep, good night everyone.
Good night from me, and we will see you next weekend.
Next Monday.
It's Monday. They should change our show from Monday, because I do not have the power of speech on a Monday, which is really not good for hosting a radio show. We will see you all next week, so I'll say good night from me, and that's it for Haunted Devon for another week. Nighty night.
My favourite thing about Soundart Radio, anybody can come in and make their own radio show.
It's the community and actually being able to come in and just voice.
Well, they're very, from my point of view, they're really brave and letting me talk about what I talk about. It's, nothing on the FM dial talks about what I talk about on my show.
They let you be your own person and don't try and make you fit their agenda.
Because it's not commercial and it doesn't have adverts and it's not controlled by money.